Hey, so I'm really ill, but I'm gonna go over some things in this video. There's a lot of things I want to talk about. I'm gonna try and get as many points across as possible. Um, and I just want to make this very easy for you to understand visually. You know when you feel like you've solved the puzzle, it's so clear now where we are, what's coming, right? I put on US recessions indicator, so it marks it in green, and then I added a green zone here, which doesn't actually exist, right? Just like this doesn't exist. This is what it looks like right now. But I believe that's gonna be there, and it's gonna look something like this. As you can see in these previous times, when the unemployment rate goes up, what happens? Well, you go into the green zone, which is the recession. And it doesn't take a big rise in unemployment rate either for you to go into those. So look how much we're up right now. You don't think we're going into a green zone? Or that we're already in it? Of course we are. It's a no-brainer. Mm, it's so clear, right? And in each of these examples, in these recessions, you see the stock market selling off. The stock market in red. In orange, you have the unemployment rate. SPX sells off with the unemployment rate spiking. SPX sells off with unemployment rate spiking. SPX sells off with unemployment rate spiking. Same thing here. 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 And here. And here and here and here. So what do you think is going to happen here? Well, the unemployment rate is creeping up. You might say it's at a low level. Yeah, that is true. It is at a low level. Is that a good thing though? I mean, I'll give you an example, okay? In 2008, in March 2008, people were making the same argument. If the economy is so bad, why is the unemployment rate so low? And so in this video, I want to try and argue for um, the other side of the what I think is going to happen, right? Like I'm going to try and argue for the soft landing, even though I know it's completely impossible. I'm going to try and argue for it as much as possible. It is true that the unemployment rate is low. It's at 4.3%, U3. U6 is at 7.8. That's the real unemployment rate. But it's not about the level, it's about the rate of change. And once this starts to turn up, it doesn't stop. And so I believe in the next 12 months it's going to look like this. So if we were to adjust this, I believe it's probably going to look like this over the next 12 months. That's the unemployment rate. But when this article was written here, it was in March 2008. Where was the unemployment rate? Right there. The unemployment rate had only gone up to there in orange. It's gone up more now, and you're already 3-4 months into the recession. And this person argues that it's low, right? It was low, but that's not a good thing because it had started to pick up in momentum and it was in uptrend, right? And so it's obviously what comes next. Show me the time when the unemployment rate goes up this much and it doesn't continue. There are 12 recessions. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 here. Okay? Now I believe we're going to go into the 13th. And again, these don't actually exist. I put that there because I know that's going to be there in a year or two from now. So it's not about the level, it's about the rate of change. Okay? Now what I want to go over is this. In blue, we have the GFC unemployment level. The GFC stands for the global financial crisis of 2008, the global financial crisis, the great financial crisis. This is months from the 10-year, 3-month yield curve inversion, the path. The blue line was the one before the global financial crisis. This is how that cycle played out. And the red line is where we are today. Do you see what's happening here? We're already well on our way to spiking in the unemployment rate. And this is going to continue. Over a year ago, I was talking about the unemployment rate is going to spike in 2024. And it's starting to point vertical. How about this? The U6 unemployment rate, that would be underemployment, right? The actual unemployment rate, the way it was measured before the mid 1990s. In blue, that was the GFC cycle, the 2008 cycle. And in red, we have today. It's the exact same thing. And a third picture, and I know I brought this up in my last video, but I want to bring it up again. Here's all the previous cycles, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 recessions on the ninth now, okay? And we're following which one of the closest? This red line. I mean, this orange line. The red line is where we are today. Which one is the orange line? Well, it's the GFC. Once it starts to look like this, it goes parabolic, okay? To make this more visual, I've done this for you. When they were hiking rates here, they were hiking it from June 2004 till June 2006. How do we know that? Well, let's go back and look. June 2004 till June 2006. The green is the rate hiking cycle from June 04 till June 06, from 1% to 5.25% in 24 months. The yellow zone, right here, is the pause period. Yellow equals pause. And the red zone is the cutting cycle. In red, you have the unemployment rate. In orange, you have the Fed funds rate. So the overnight lending rate set by the Federal Reserve, which they followed a 2-year yield in order to move that, right? And you can see what happened in all of these examples, right? First, they were hiking rates, the unemployment rate was trending down. They were hiking rates, the unemployment rate was trending down or staying low. Then the pause was starting to pick up. And the pause was starting to pick up. In the red line, it started to move up and then went parabolic. Or in the red zone, rather. And same thing here. It's going to do the same thing. So the red is going to be the red, that's the red, the red is the rate cutting cycle, right? And they're going to cut on September 18th, 2024, just like they cut September 18th, 2007. How do you know that? Well, they did it here. And they were cutting rates until it hit zero in December of 2008. Was that good? No. Is the pause period about the same length? Yes. Back then it was how long? The terminal rate was reached at 5.25% in June 06. 15 months later, they started cutting rates. Well, the terminal rate was reached in July 2023. 14 months later, in September 2024, the exact same date, they're going to cut by the exact same amount as they did back then. So instead of September 18th, 2007 by 50 basis points, they're going to cut September 18th, 2024 by 50 basis points. It's the exact same. So it leads to one question. Say that hypothetically they were trying to replay the GFC intentionally, right? Say that the Fed, just picture a scenario where the Federal Reserve, they're evil, right? And they will not create the exact same scenario again. What would they do? Well, they would make all the same mistakes they did back then, right? Right, that's exactly what they're doing now. There's absolutely no difference between the two. And so what happens in the red zone? Well, the unemployment rate spikes and the stock market sells off. How do we know the stock market sells off? Well, show me a time in any of these green zones when the stock market doesn't go down, when the orange line goes up. The orange line is the unemployment rate, and the red line is the S&P 500. It's so obvious what's coming. And then some people might go, yeah, but we're not in a recession because of GDP. You're gonna trust their numbers? Look how they revised it in 2001. From a 2% GDP number to a growth number to a 1.3% contraction. And they did the same thing in 2007. So you can't look at that either. They might say, yeah, but that's a conspiracy that they're going to revise it now. Really? Well, all we have to do is we have to just go and look at this. What are they doing right now? They've been lying about their jobs. What do I mean by that? This is from Goldman Sachs. We believe the preliminary estimate of the benchmark revision to non-farm payrolls will show downwards revisions as large as 600,000 to a million. So they overstate the jobs by 600,000 to a million. And you might think, or also let's bring up this. GDP fell in Q4 2007. They revised the GDP from a 0.6% growth rate to a 0.2% contraction. You might say, yeah, but this is still anecdotal evidence. Really? All right. You gotta ask questions here. What the fuck is going on? Job openings, 14 out of the past 17 months have been revised lower. Do you really think that this is not going to end the same way? It's the exact same thing. Replace 2007 with 2024, replace 2008 with 2025, and 2009 with 2026. And that's exactly where we're headed. Rates will come down, the unemployment rate will go up in red, and the stock market will collapse. How far? I don't know. But 35% is the average S&P 500 decline. That's what this is going to look like. Where will rates go? I don't know. Probably back down to zero. This is probably what it's going to look like. And like this. And it's like we said before, the year is 2007. The stock market is at the all-time high. The yield curve is re-steepening out of inversion through a bull steepener. The unemployment rate is rising. The Fed is about to cut September 18th. You check the current calendar date. Everything is the same. Good luck, guys.